Have you ever watched, like, a revolutionary movement or maybe even an innovative company promise total freedom only to mutate into the exact monster they swore to destroy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's this tragic cycle, and it plays out time and time again across history and, well, modern boardrooms alike.
Right, so welcome to today's deep dive. This is an energetic, motivating exploration into the mechanics of power, propaganda, and betrayal.
A really important topic.
It totally is. Our mission here is to empower you to spot exactly how the language of liberation gets weaponized to control people.
Yeah, to control you. It's so prevalent.
Exactly. Let's ground this right away. Think about a modern tech startup. They launch with this massive, genuine mission to disrupt toxic corporate culture, right?
Right, they want to change the world.
They champion flat hierarchies, open communication, transparency. But slowly over time, they evolve into a ruthless monopoly, like completely identical to the massive corporations they originally replaced.
Well, what's fascinating about that startup scenario and about grand social movements in general is that the most devastating betrayals always start with genuine grievances.
Meaning the initial pain is actually real.
Yes, exactly. The initial desire for equality, the need to escape real unfairness, that is completely authentic. The people aren't just imagining their struggles.
Right.
And that genuine foundation is actually what makes the eventual corruption so tragic. I mean, the movement is built on an absolute truth, but then that truth is methodically dismantled from the inside.
By the very people claiming to protect it.
Precisely.
But, okay, if the initial movement was built on such an authentic shared truth, I don't really understand how the leaders get away with dismantling it.
Well, I
But,
just know.
I mean, at what point do they hijack the mission without triggering a second rebellion? Like, if I start a company with my peers and suddenly one of them acts like an absolute dictator, we'd all just walk out.
You would if it happened overnight, but it doesn't. A leader never just declares absolute power on a random Tuesday.
Right, so how do they do it?
First, they manufacture a constant looming outside threat. So in a society, it's the fear of the old regime returning. In our startup analogy, it's the threat of a rival company destroying them or, the fear of going bankrupt.
Oh, wow. So they just keep everyone terrified.
Exactly. And they use that terror to justify breaking the new rules, saying things like, oh, it's just for a little while, or it's just for our own safety.
So panic becomes this ultimate hall pass.
Precisely. And once people are sufficiently panicked, the leaders build an enforcement arm. Think about how a startup shifts from open messaging channels to suddenly having an internal compliance team.
Oh, yeah. Monitoring your messages for culture fit.
Right. It's not physical guard dogs. It's the silent, ever-present threat of being instantly exiled from the community. That enforces the silence.
Wow.
Step by step, they rewrite the rules while everyone is just too distracted or afraid to push back.
But fear is powerful, sure. But you can't hold a group of people hostage under the threat of being fired or exiled forever.
You really can't.
Right, because eventually that kind of enforcement just becomes exhausting.
That is the pivotal transition right there. To maintain long-term power, control has to shift from physical intimidation to weaponizing language.
Weaponizing language.
Yeah, it relies on basically shutting down the brain's critical thinking centers.
Wait, how did language physically shut down critical thinking?
By forcing people to repeat simple binary slogans, you actually eliminate the vocabulary needed to express complex disagreement.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if a company rebrands mass layoffs as, say, structural optimizations for team freedom, and that becomes the only acceptable phrase, the mind literally loses the linguistic tools to formulate a rebellion.
That is wild.
Yeah, they subtly reverse the meanings of words. So equality actually means strict hierarchy, and freedom just means strict obedience to the company lines.
I struggle to buy that, though. Let's look at the hardest workers, right? The
Yeah.
most loyal, dedicated people in any system.
Okay, sure.
If a startup or a society turns toxic and starts feeding them doublespeak, why don't the hardest workers just leave or strike?
That's the tragic part.
Right, because they just double down and say, I'll just work harder to fix this. It seems completely counterintuitive to work harder for a system that is actively betraying you.
It is a profound psychological trap, and it's basically driven by cognitive dissonance. These hardworking folks, they have invested their entire identity into the original pure mission.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, to admit the leadership has been corrupted means admitting their life's work was exploited.
So they just cling to the original dream to avoid facing the nightmare.
Yes. Idealism without constant vigilance becomes a really dangerous weakness.
Mhm.
Those who scheme and accumulate power understand this perfectly.
Wow. So they prey on that.
They will happily consume that sincere faith and labor, offering absolutely nothing in return, because unquestioning trust is the easiest resource to exploit.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, this isn't just an abstract theory.
No, definitely not.
This exact dynamic happens in modern corporate ladders, local communities, and social movements all around us today. We really have to avoid falling into that trap of mindlessly repeating corporate buzzwords.
Or ideological slogans, yeah. You can't just repeat things without actually dissecting what they mean.
Exactly.
Because true freedom is a daily practice. It requires active, sometimes uncomfortable maintenance. You really have to stay vigilant.
You have to trust your own memory.
Right. Trust your memory of what the original rules were and never let anyone erase your truth or rewrite your past just because it's convenient for their current agenda.
So think back to that shiny new startup or any movement you believe in. Look at the institutions you serve today.
Really, look at them.
Yeah, if you look closely at the leaders, the systems, and the language they use, can you still tell the difference between the liberators and the oppressors?
It's a tough question to answer.
It really is. This motivating audio is produced by Shahrazad Bookshop. To keep empowering your mind with powerful ideas, click the link and visit Shahrazad Bookshop today.